begins. David Stearns.
Thank you, Ethan, and thanks everyone for hopping on. Very pleased to be able to officially introduce Luis Severino and Harrison Bader as official members of the Mets. We're thrilled to have them here. I think each brings a unique skill set, an individual skill set that gels with our team really well, accomplishes some of the things we were looking to accomplish this offseason. I'll talk briefly about each one of them, and then turn it over to them for some brief introductory remarks before we take questions. First on Sevy, this is a pitcher that clearly this market and all of you know very well. You've seen him at the top of the game, and when he's at the top of his game, he's one of the best pitchers in the league. And we've all seen that. And as we went into this offseason and evaluated pitchers that could be available and that were on the free agent market, it was tough for us to find many who had higher upsides than Sevy. And we believe he can get back there. We believe at times last year he wasn't that far away. And so we're really excited to bring him to the Mets. We know he's working exceptionally hard this offseason, and we think he's poised for a really successful year with us next year. In terms of Harrison Bader, another player clearly that all of you are familiar with, and someone that I'm very familiar with from his days in the NL Central and my days in the NL Central. Harrison is unquestionably one of the best defenders in all of baseball. He can change the game with his defense, and he has the ability to help us win games in a variety of different ways. He's shown flashes of offensive upside, and we think there is unquestionably a really impactful offensive player that we can help him get to there. And so we're excited to add him to our team and believe that he's really going to be able to impact us on both sides of the ball. So with that, I'll turn it over to back to Ethan, and he can run the show.
Sure. We'll have an opening comment from Luis Severino.
You good? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to David Stern and the the Mets organization for giving this opportunity to be, here. From the beginning, we began to talk, and the ways that I think this thing is gonna help me. I'm really thrilled and really excited to start this new journey with the New York Mets.
Thank you very much, Sevy. And with this, a few opening comments from Harrison Bader.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ethan. First and foremost, thank you to David and the Mets organization for giving me this opportunity. And as I'm looking around this Zoom, I see a few familiar faces. So to you guys, nice to see you guys again. And to everybody in your Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to working alongside with you guys as we navigate what's going to be, in my opinion, an extremely strong and positive 2024. So, it really goes without saying how excited my family and I are to be back in New York. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us for a lot of reasons. I'm just looking forward to taking advantage of it from every aspect, like David mentioned. So it's going to be a great year, and I'm looking forward to it all. So hello to everybody.
Thank you very much, everyone. At this time, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature. We'd like to address questions for Luis Severino and Harrison Bader and David Stearns regarding those two players first. At that time, we'll let Luis and Harrison hop off, and David will remain on the call to answer additional baseball questions. Your first question comes from Steve Gelbs.
Thanks, Ethan. Hey, guys. For Luis, I want to start with you. You mentioned coming here that you feel like there are a lot of things that will help you get back to where you have been and want to be. What are some of the specifics that you think need to change, or the Mets organization can specifically help you out with to unlock what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I was looking for a team that was gonna help me. I talked with my agent. The first thing is not was going anywhere. I was going to a place that I was gonna think it's gonna help me, and just the group of guys, the meeting that we have. Mandy's gonna be there. Mandy known me for a while, and knows what's keep me going. And also, I really like the the pitching staff that they have there. Also, Hefner, who I think is gonna help me a lot. Who knows a lot about the game. Who's playing the game, and he's been in the game for a long time. And I think there's a combination of having that mindset of also playing the game, and also with the new technology that we use. And I think that combination is going to help me a lot.
And then Harrison, you obviously know a bunch of people in the organization, whether it's Carlos Mendoza or certainly Pete Alonso. Having played college baseball with him, what was it about the Mets organization that you heard about that attracted you, and what did you feel like made this the right fit for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, Steve, it's definitely nice to have some familiarity from the coaching staff to the players. You mentioned Pete, obviously having some years at University of Florida, and beyond that, just talking to him around the league, extremely knowledgeable. He's had a lot of success, so it's nice to kind of be back with him. Mendy, obviously, is just a baseball guy, so he's awesome. He's on it. I'm happy and excited for him to have a team, to run himself. But beyond that, first and foremost, the most important thing, especially in the position that I was in this offseason, was opportunity. And there's tremendous opportunity with the Mets. They expressed, what they wanted to achieve in free agency, and I think that they got the player in me, and I think that they hit just that. I can impact, just like David said, on all sides of the ball. And listen, there's no doubt that health is, my main focus, and we take extreme ownership of that. And when I say we, I mean my entire team and everybody involved in making sure that I'm the best, physically sound athlete I can be, so I can go out there and ultimately be impactful. So when I was navigating this entire process with my agents, opportunity was most important. And then from there, let's be real, to be able to be in New York and to continue my dream, which is to ultimately win a championship in New York. I'm just looking forward to taking full advantage of it, and diving into it day in and day out, and seeing how it shakes out. And I think the atmosphere and what New York can bring out of the people who rise up to the challenge of it, and do their best to adapt and work with it, I think it pays off. So I'm excited for the challenge, and I couldn't be happier that it's in these colors. So yeah, that's really what it was.
Thanks, guys.
Tony DeComo has the next question.
Hey guys, this is for both Luis and Harrison. Harrison, you just touched on it a little bit, but you guys both obviously have extensive experience in New York. Harrison, you're from here. Luis played your whole career here. How important was that geography to you guys when you were debating where you might want to sign?
Sevi, you want to go first? You want me to go, Papa? Okay. Yeah, New York is a special place. People talk about all of the different pressures and whatnot, and we know what New York City is about. You guys have all worked here for a long time and seen a lot of players and teams. And what I think what's most important to realize about New York is all those things that we just talked about, or all those things that you might say that are difficult about New York, are those are all really external. They kind of exist out there, and then people feel the pressure of them, or people feel like they're those characteristics, in many ways weigh them down. But if you have the ability to use that pressure and to use that weight, if you will, and kind of flip it on its head, and make it more internal, and have that pressure kind of drive your decision making, whether it comes to recovery, whether it comes to your workouts in the off season, whether it comes to how you prepare day in and day out, all these little decisions, if you use that pressure as a guiding force, for your tomorrow, for your next decision, I think it can be extremely powerful. And then the payoff there is, if you have a great year and the team does extremely well, well then, it's a wonderful experience, and that's what we're playing for here. So, there's no doubt I want to remain in New York. And again, I'm just extremely happy that David and the Mets organization gave me that opportunity.
For me, when I hit the free agency, there was a lot of people, families and friends who, wanted me to go to a place that, with no pressure. And then, thinking more about it, the thing that drives me, that keeps me going, is the pressure. So I love being in pressure. That's why, I was in New York for a long time. And like I say, I'm happy, to be in this organization, in the Mets, because I want to continue to have, to feel that pressure. When I'm not doing good, I want, they let me know so I can, get better and help my team, help my team to win. So for me, just, I love the pressure. I love feeling the atmosphere. And, I've seen this thing, how it is in the playoffs, how the fans are in playoffs. So I just wanted to go back to that and experience that.
And if I could follow up quickly with David, as an executive, looking at who you might want to sign, how big of a factor, if at all, is that to have guys who have, done it here and know what to expect here?
But I think it's important to have players who embrace what New York is. And I think Harrison just put it really well. If you're able to take all these external factors that exist with New York and use it as fuel and use it to drive you, it's an enormous benefit for all of us. There's an added intensity here. We all talk about it. We all know it. And to have players who embrace that, who enjoy that, who thrive off of that intensity, I do think that's important. And both of these guys have that.
Thanks, guys.
Next question is from Mike Puma.
Question for David. Is Harrison Bader your everyday center fielder now? And if so, is Brandon Nimmo your left fielder now?
So I think Harrison's going to play a lot of center field. I think, I term it, he's going to play regularly in center field. I think we're fortunate. We've got, frankly, a number of outfielders who can play multiple positions, who can play center field. In terms of, is Brandon going to be exclusively a left fielder? I think we'll kind of tackle that one as we get into spring training and we see the true formulation of what our team looks like, what it looks like towards the end of camp. And then we'll have a more definitive answer to that. I think Brandon is of the mind that he wants to do whatever is best for the team. And if it means at times flipping back to center field, he's open to it. If it means playing more predominantly left field, he's open to that too. So we'll kind of see how the roster shakes out, whether there are opportunities for Brandon to shift back over to center, or whether it makes sense for him to pretty much stay in left. So that's kind of TBD, and we'll continue that discussion through spring training.
But you see Harrison pretty much as a center fielder, right?
Yes.
When he's in there,
yes.
you would want him in center, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Your next question is from Abby Mistrak.
Same question for both Harrison and Luis. I just want to know if either of you are doing anything differently this offseason, approaching your training differently in order to stay healthy and improve your health next season.
Yeah, definitely. Abby, I've never in my life been kicked harder in the jaw than I did kind of rolling into this offseason. Purely just from an athletic standpoint, nothing emotional. It is what it is, but purely from waking up, when everything was said and done, and I got my sports hernia surgery September 28th, the feeling I had simply walking around my apartment, getting into cabs, walking down subway steps, that feeling is something I never want to feel again. Maybe until when it's all said and done and you rip the jersey off my back and I can't play anymore. But I guess what I'm getting at here is, you take extreme ownership of everything. These little injuries we experience, and I play a very physical position, they happen for a reason, and clearly something was off. And when one thing goes, you try to compensate with speed, and then something else goes. And before you know it, you're playing catch up with yourself on top of trying to work out, your plan of attack to face whoever's on the mound. It's just too much. And I do firmly believe that with the right team, with the proper training, with guided training, with doing your research with people who you want to surround yourself with, not only for the off season, but for the entirety of spring training and the entire season, to build that repetition, to have that muscle tissue work the way it's intended to work and properly for your sport and what your position requires of you. I do believe it's going to pay out. So, I'm in Tampa fully with the right people. I did a lot of research behind it. And I feel extremely confident with the people I'm with. Pair that with my hitting coach and all the work you do behind the scenes. I feel extremely confident moving forward. Something that, maybe I wish I had earlier, but I'm not going to spend any time trying to turn the clocks back, because it's not possible. It's just really important to have what happened in the past, learn from it, and then be better for tomorrow. So yeah, steps have definitely been taken for sure.
For me, of course, I mean, I'm always looking forward to, the off season to try something new. I mean, I've been talking a lot to the Mets training. And we've been trying to, finding ways to, keep me in the field more. I said right now, like I feel 100%, and for me, the main focus is stay like that for the whole season. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm working. One of the main things that I'm focused this whole season is sleep. I've been, talking to people about that. I was really bad sleeper my whole life. So I think there was something in there. I talked to a sleep doctor about it. So we are finding ways to, get better also with the trainers, my body, how my body's working. We've been to a lot of, measurements, seeing like where my power come from, and how we can, keep it the same way, for the whole season. So, I mean, for me, just, how when I get to spring training, how I can stay the same way for the whole for the whole season. So I think everybody is together. We are talking and we are trying to get a plan to get me into the whole season.
Thanks, guys.
Next question is from Tim Britton.
This question's for David. You talked about getting Luis back to kind of his top form. What makes you confident that you guys are going to be able to do that for him this upcoming season? What did you see from him last year that suggests that he's close?
Yeah, so I think that's where it starts. Is there were elements of what Luis was doing last year that were very similar to when he was at the top of his game. Particularly down the stretch and into September. I think we saw some pretty encouraging signs. And then I think that the second part is just as we went through this process and getting to know Luis, and hear his determination to get his body in the right spot. A lot of this is just making sure that we're physically ready, and that we're healthy when we go out there. And for a guy like Sevy, I think that's a big part of this is keeping him healthy, training the right way. He's been incredibly diligent, certainly since we've been in touch with him over this offseason with his offseason training. You just heard him talk about his sleep program, and maybe it's addressing some, somewhat maybe minor strength deficiencies that he's had that allow him to put his body in just a slightly better place. And we think will lead to success. So, look, there are no guarantees, but we're starting with someone who's performed at a very high level in this city in big moments, and a lot of those attributes appear to still be there. And that's a really good place from which to start.
Then for Harrison, just wondering, when you look back at these last two seasons, how much do you think the physical issues that you've dealt with have kind of impacted your performance, and how close do you feel to getting back to what you can be, especially offensively?
Yeah, Tim, I think it's really difficult at this level if you're not physically there to perform. Guys are just really good and they do their homework. And you're not just facing the arm on the mound, but you're facing a pitching staff that did their research. You're facing an experienced catcher that has an ability to adjust on the go, swing to swing. So you're really facing an army of guys when you go up there. And first and foremost, you got to be physically capable to do what you're trying to do. And I take extreme ownership of being physically prepared. And listen, it is what it is. It's been a rough 2 seasons, there's no doubt. But having gone through those experiences and had a period there, obviously in the playoffs of 2022, when I was very healthy, being physically there is really, really important. And taking the steps to do everything I can to prepare physically to get the absolute most out of my talent to help this team win, plain and simple. I'm not talking about, anything beyond just simply putting the work in, getting up, showing up, continuing to do the reps, getting the proper recovery and getting the proper sleep. And like Sevi talked about, and showing up the next day and doing it until the season's done. And hopefully it's after a World Series, which is all of our goals. It's really all there is to it. It's just a commitment to that. It's a complete dive into that. And if there's an extra gear that I have to tap into, which I do believe I have to tap into, because every year, baseball players age differently and the stresses are different. So tapping into that gear, channeling that focus is all I'm really concerned with. So as long as that's taken care of and I'm physically there, I know how effective I can be. And I'm looking forward to continue that day in and day out. And, again, take it one day at a time, one game at a time, and just go from there. So yeah.
Your next question comes from Bruce Beck.
Hey, Sevi, do you consider yourself a 1, a 1A, a 2, a 3, a 4 in the rotation? Where do you see yourself?
I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. I mean, I can be bullpen catcher if they want me to. I gotta go out there and kind of compete. I mean, a number doesn't say nothing. You can start as a 2, as a 1. It doesn't matter. And at the end, we all have the same goal: is to win. Every time they give me the ball, you're number 1 that day. So you're gonna go out there, you're gonna compete, and you're gonna give you 100%.
Harrison, David said you can contribute in a number of ways, and he mentioned you have upside offensively. So what are your goals for this year offensively?
Hey, Bruce, good to see you.
You too.
Offensively, my goals. Listen, my goals are to be sharp every single day. Result standpoint, listen, I don't know. I truly don't believe. I think I've had months. I think I've had 2 months at a time. I've had weeks. I've had certainly series where I've definitely tapped into my potential in this league. But, my number one goal is to tap into my potential every day and see how it looks after 6 months at this level. That's my main focus. I know I can do it. I believe I can do it, and it's going to take work, and I'm looking forward to the work. So listen, with that said, I'm going to force my way into the lineup. I'm going to force Mendy's hand as often as I possibly can. I'm not here to stomp my feet about where I'm playing or if I'm not playing. I just know I'm going to be ready whenever my name's called upon. And that's my only focus and singular focus. And with that simple focus comes all the work behind the scenes that I'm looking forward to executing every single day. And listen, when it comes down to it, I know I just want to win. And I know the best version of myself is a focused, simplified, very physical version. And I'm just, again, looking forward to tapping into that every day and seeing how it shakes out when it's all said and done.
Thank you, guys.
Next question is from Veronica Contreras.
Hello, congratulations to both of you. I have 2 questions for Luis, and I'm going to do it in Spanish. Luis, háblame de lo que significa para ti quedarte en Nueva York sabiendo la presión que se juega aquí, esa presión en Nueva York.
Hola Verónica, ¿cómo estás? Contento de quedarme en Nueva York, como dije anteriormente. Me gusta la presión, eso es lo que me define a mí, eso es lo que me hace a mí ser un mejor pelotero. Me gusta competir bajo la presión, porque, ¿sabes? Los fanáticos te dicen la verdad. Cuando tú no estás jugando, tú vas a ver, y cuando estás jugando bien, tú vas a ver también. Entonces, eso es lo que a mí, ¿sabes? me gusta ver porque eso me impulsa a ser un mejor pelotero, a trabajar más.
La segunda pregunta es, conociendo también a Carlos Mendoza, nuevo manager de los Mets, ¿eso influyó un poco en tu decisión de venirte a jugar aquí con los Mets?
Claro, sí, porque Carlos es una persona que lo conozco desde mucho tiempo, sabe la forma que yo soy y yo pienso que, sabe, había durado mucho para, sabe, tener un empleo como manager en la Grandes Ligas. Creo que va a ser un tremendo manager y, sabe, si yo voy a dar el 100%, voy a competir, yo prefiero hacerlo como un manager como Mendoza.
Gracias, suerte, good luck.
Thank you.
Next question is from Bob Klapish.
Questions for Luis. Sevi, now that you've had a couple of months to think about it, have you been able to pinpoint why you struggled last year? If there's been something specific that you need to fix going forward, and how confident are you that you can be the pitcher that you were in 2017 and 18?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think I was doing wrong. You know, I always have problem with you know how it is with the tipping and stuff like that. So, and also when you know that you were doing something to let the hitters know the fastball or change or slider is coming, so you think a lot about that. So I think I need to address that now. So when I go in the mound when the season starts, I just need to focus in pitching and forget about my glove is too high or it's too low or something like that. So my main focus this all season is that, and then I think this is the right moment to do all those things. I mean, I feel really good. I mean, the last couple of years, my arm has been a problem, and last year, I mean, I threw a lot of high, intensity innings. Like, I threw, 40, 35 something pitches in one inning. So that's mean at least that my arm was really good, was healthy. So I just think that I need to, address those kind of problems right now, and then just pitch when I need to pitch and forget about everything else.
So you do think it was tipping, looking back?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, like I said before, when I think I was tipping, also I was not focusing the game. I was missing a lot of pitches too. I was not. I think there is not one thing that I can say, oh, it was because of this. But I think there was small things that got together at once that I couldn't handle at the same time. So that's why I think because I had time now, I need to work on all those things. So when I get to spring training and then to the season, everything's clean.
Thank you.
Next question is from Manuel Gomez.
Okay. Severino, congratulations, and Harrison, congratulations on signing with the Mets. My question is for Severino. I wanted to, I don't know if you were aware, that Todd Frazier, a former Yankee and a Met, mentioned that this could be your final straw in the big leagues. Do you feel that to be the case? Are you entering the season feeling that you have to kind of prove yourself to be an ace again?
I mean, for me, I had to prove myself, what I can do. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna give my 100%, like I said before. Whoever said that, I mean, I think doesn't know much about baseball. I mean, I can mention a lot of players, a lot of hitters, those that been to, the worst season and come back. I mean, this is just, I mean, nobody is great for, 10, 8 years. I mean, if you had somebody like that, you have to keep it because that's going to be a Hall of Fame. So I think for me, I just need to be in the field, compete, and I'm not worry about, everything outside of baseball. Focus on my thing, one pitch at a time, and then, time or no, maybe you can ask me this question, and when we are in the first half or when the season is over, and we can both look for the guy who said that and talk to him.
Next question is from Pat Ragazzo.
Hey guys, congratulations on signing with the Mets. This one's for Harrison. You played with Pete Alonso back in college, so I was just wondering what your level of excitement was to reunite with him and play in the same lineup as him again. And I was also wondering if you have been in touch with him since you signed with the Mets.
Yeah, Pat, I'm extremely excited to be back with Pete. Actually, when I was a freshman and Pete was an incoming freshman the following year, I was the one who took him around campus, showed him everything. He was, we have a weekend where we all have to be responsible for the incoming freshman. And first and foremost, just a great kid, just a great guy, great energy, great smile, nice big, polar bear presence, if you will. You fast forward, obviously what he's done in this league has been extremely impressive, but it's not by accident by any means. I know the way he talks about his craft. I know the way he works. I know how he thinks about what a pitcher's trying to do to him. And all those things paired together, you produce extremely positive results like he's seen so far in his career. So to be around that level of confidence, to be around the level of preparation, is extremely exciting for me. And again, like I mentioned earlier in this Zoom call, having some familiarity on a team, is extremely, extremely important. It really is. I know what, I know what he's about. I can imagine if he's no different, which I don't think he is. From the Pete I know from all those years at UF, it's a great culture in the clubhouse, and I'm only going to add to that in a positive way. So, with that said, I have been in contact with him. He's the first person I texted, obviously, when ultimately the decision was made. And I'm just extremely excited. As I've heard from him, it's a great clubhouse. It's a great competitive group of guys. And again, that's all that I care about. I want to compete, and I want to do it in a positive way. I want to cheer my teammates on 24/7, and I want to win. And Pete's really that glue, to it all. So looking forward to seeing more of the guys, learning more about the guys. But specifically as it pertains to Pete, yeah, I'm extremely excited. Been talking with him pretty regularly, and I'm sure as I get going here, we start facing lives, I'll be seeing him before spring training.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next question comes from Ed Randall.
I just wanted to ask both of you if you ever imagined as Yankees being members of the Mets.
Hey, Edwin. Yeah, I have to be honest with you, 100%. No doubt about it. And I think that kind of plays into, you just never know what's going to happen in baseball. You never know how the game's going to come full circle. Even growing up as a kid, my family, I was born into a family that just happened to be a Yankees household. But on my mother's side, and they have 1,000 cousins. They're all Mets fans, and that presence and that butting of the heads, if you will, as just a young fan of baseball. And that's all I really remember from my holidays when we'd all get together. It's just a really exciting opportunity. It's one, if I pull myself out for a second and just realize the perspective that as a New Yorker, I get to play on both teams. It's an absolute dream come true. And to take it a step further, to win a championship in New York is an even bigger step. And I can assure you, the championship matters to all of us tremendously. And what colors it's in. I just want the championship, and I'm looking forward to the experience of chasing it this year in this uniform. So I definitely imagine this is a possibility.
Luis, what about you?
I mean, for me, I was not imagining even going to any team. I think I was gonna die a Yankee.
Mm.
But when everything came down free agency, I was looking for something that kept me the same. Like I said before, same pressure, same kind of fuel that can get me going when I'm the mound, when when I have a bad outing. They will let me know, and I need that. I need that in my life. I need people that tell me the truth when I'm not doing good. So that can get me to the bullpen or, anywhere that I can go to, to get me better. And I think this is a place. And, when, I saw what they bring to the table and the team that they have, that they want to win, people that compete, that, that got me even more to go into that team.
Next question is from Max Perez Jimenez. Max, your line is open. Okay, we're going to go to Mark Roseman.
Congratulations, guys. Happy New Year as well. David, this is the first part's for you. I know at your introductory press conference, you had mentioned that growing up here in New York, you're acutely aware of the marketplace. That being said, in the past, Met fans live and die with the big ticket items that are out there. And this offseason, it seems like on Twitter, the second a big ticket item came off that wasn't a Met, they went crazy. Your experience in Milwaukee, it seems like it's more of the under the radar signings that really get it done. These two guys are really big time competitors. How do you kind of do like a hybrid, what you did in Milwaukee, but try and do it here where everyone's expecting the Mets to sign every single free agent? And the second part is for Sevy and Harrison. You guys are brought here, and the Met fans love your type of players. What are you going to embrace about the competitors that you guys are, and the way the Met fan base embraces that? Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mark. I'll start. Look, I love that our fan base wants us to sign everyone out there, right? That's great. One, that I think that means that what this organization has done over the last couple of years has raised the bar, and has set high expectations, and that's a great thing. We want high expectations. We want our fans passionately engaged, and we want them really to demand excellence, and that's what we're striving to succeed in. And excellence requires, I think, thoughtful, strategic, and hopefully wise acquisitions throughout. It certainly includes the big ticket, premium free agents, when those are the right opportunities. And it also ensures that you have really talented players throughout the entirety of your roster. We can't win with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exceptional players. Really, over the course of the year, you need somewhere between 50 and 60 players all contributing to a really successful season. And so that's what we're out to do. That's what we're out to accomplish. But in terms of the fan interest, the passion, the desire for us to improve, those are all positives for me. And ultimately, I think it makes us all do our jobs better. And that same intensity that Harrison and Sevy were talking about, that fuels them, it fuels us in the front office as well. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I can go next. I think what's most important to embrace about the Mets fan base are the standards of winning, and winning in New York, and not to compare ourselves to any other organization, not to compare ourselves to any past Mets team or any past version of where the organization may have been or came from. Where we all live currently as players is right now in this upcoming season. And I think it's really important to not. Sorry, I'm receiving a phone call. I think it's really, really important to never get on your high horse, especially in in New York. I think both organizations, but specifically the Mets, have experienced what it's like to have heartbreak on the other side of winning, and have heartbreak on the other side of success. When things are going well, is to continue to show up with our heads down and continue to be competitive and continue to kick the crap out of our opponent that night. Just to stay focused on the task at hand, which is coming together as a group and winning after 9 innings, and keeping that snow globe, that circle, that locker room, all the energy we got going forward, keeping that as tight as possible. So those standards of winning and those standards of expectations, I think I'm going to embrace the most through my level of preparation, through the level of how seriously I take this season. And I'm going to make it as fun as possible. But there's no doubt that, if you dive into that energy properly, it can be extremely powerful, and it can pay off really well for all of us. And I'm just going to do my best to add, that level of intensity to the clubhouse, and that level of intensity to how I plan to embrace, every night being a Met.
Yeah, for me, is how Bader was saying, the energy, the fans out there. We play a lot of games against, the men's, and just, going through the booth and walking before everybody was, any of the guys was in the field. It was tough, those fans out there. So I want to feel the same thing when I'm pitching for the Mets. I know that energy that they have and that they're passionate about winning. So I just want to go out there, give my 100%, and I know when I hear, everybody, shouting my name and clapping, that's gonna get me even more going to, trying to, to get to the level that everybody knows. Seve is in the mound, and I just, feel really, happy to be in this team, and I think, like I said before, feeling that energy from the Mets is gonna get me going.
We'll try one more time for Max Perez. Max?
I wanted it for you, Max.
No. Okay. At this time, I want to thank Luis and Harrison for joining us, for your time this afternoon. And you gentlemen can pop off, and David will stay on to answer some additional baseball questions. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you guys.
Ethan, thank you. Everybody in here, thank you. It's, again, familiar faces. Nice to meet a bunch of guys. And David, thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon. All the best, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for hopping on.
Bye.
At this time, please raise your hands for questions for David, and we will start with Steve Gelbs.
Hey, David, just curious now with all the changes that you guys have made and additions you've made to the starting staff, do you feel like you're finished for the most part with rounding out the starting rotation, or are you still looking to add to that group?
Yeah, I don't think you're ever finished, especially when you're talking about pitching, and especially when you're talking about starting pitching. I think we're going to be perpetually on the lookout for ways to improve, ways to get better, ways to add. I think we've made some significant progress. I like the three arms that we've added to our starting rotation. But you never have enough starting pitching, and so we'll continue to look. I don't know whether there's going to be another acquisition of significance for the rotation before the start of spring training. But we've got to keep our eyes open, and we've got to stay involved.
And then regarding the Mauricio injury, you had said when we were at the winter meetings that you thought the third baseman was internally on the roster. Does not having Mauricio this year change your calculations at all about what to do going into spring training at third base this year?
I still believe we have options internally on our roster that deserve opportunity, and frankly, for the long-term organizational outlook, need opportunity. We have to provide young, talented players with opportunity at the major league level. And I believe over time, as you do that as an organization, you're rewarded for it. And you get really quality players, solid players who can contribute in your organization for a long time coming through your own system. So I'm excited to see what our younger players can do. And we have some of them who we believe can play third base.
Thanks.
Next question is from Mike Puma.
David, just to excuse me, clarify on Bader earlier. You see him playing every day, like, a guy gets 500, 550 at bats?
Look, I'm not going to classify or explicitly state how many at bats. I think that's determined over the course of the year, and certainly Mendy's going to have a lot to say about that. I think we signed him because we believe he's a really talented player, And I would expect him to play regularly in center field. Exactly what that looks like over the course of the season, to be determined. But we believe in his talent. Certainly, we believe in him defensively, and as I said, we think he can impact the game offensively as well. So he's going to get plenty of playing time. Some of it's going to be matchup based, but he's going to get plenty of playing time in center field.
Also, do you feel you need? I mean, you've upgraded defensively a lot. You've added arms. Do you feel you need another bat here?
So that's something we're still evaluating, and we're going to see what becomes available. So I wouldn't necessarily close the door on that. I also don't think it's essential, and some of that is interrelated to the question I just answered about third base, where we do have young players who we want to make sure have sufficient at bats. Sometimes sort of that bat first player, when we're talking about a DH position, it can be helpful to rotate players through that. So, we haven't made a firm decision on that one yet. And I think it's still a little bit to be determined, and we're still discussing.
Next question is from Tony DeComo.
Hey, David, just to ask much more broadly about your roster, where do you still feel that you need to add, and how aggressive, just in general, do you plan to be over the final month of the offseason, or have you sort of already done the bulk of what you intended to do?
So I think we're going to stay involved everywhere. Look, there's no perfect team, and we are not perfect in various segments of our roster. So we're going to stay involved across the board. I think specifically, we are looking at the pen. That's not going to be a surprise to anyone. I think, finding ways to solidify our bullpen makes some sense. We can do that in a variety of different ways. It could be lengthening out that unit. It could be providing different looks. But that's certainly an area of the team that we continue to examine.
You're obviously in a very difficult division. You knew that coming into the offseason. How do you feel like this? How good do you feel like this roster is? How equipped is it to compete with the Braves, the Phillies, the Marlins, teams that were playoff teams last year?
Look, every year is a different year, and I'm a big believer of not setting any limits on any team. And so we're putting together a team that we fully expect and believe will be competitive. You're right. We're in a really good division with a couple of very well-run organizations that have had some really quality years in the recent past. And it's our job to put together teams that can compete with them.
Thank you.
Next question is from Abby Mastracco.
Hi, David. I am curious, do you think you need more high leverage arms in the bullpen right now? Just how do you sort of assess the bullpen where it is at the moment?
Yeah, I think, look, we'd like to add to our reliever mix. One of the interesting things about bullpens, if you kind of look at the really good bullpens in baseball each year, there's sort of an evolution that occurs throughout the year. Often what that unit looks like in April and May is very different than what that unit looks like in August and September. And there are probably names in really good bullpens in August and September that no one was really thinking about playing prominent roles in those bullpens at the front of the year. So I'm very cognizant that this is a part of a team that generally has some fluidity to it and generally can go through different versions of itself over the course of the year. So certainly, we want to put together the best unit in the pen that we possibly can as of opening day. But we also recognize that there are going to be opportunities to change the mix, potentially improve as we go through a full season.
Thank you.
Next question is from Disha Thozar.
Hey, David, just have you discussed a contract extension with Pete this offseason? And do you have a deal in place to maybe not engage in that conversation once spring training starts or once the season starts, or will that sort of be open and ongoing for you?
As a general practice, I tend not to discuss any contract negotiations with any particular player, and I'll keep that practice going. In this, I'll continue to say Pete's a really good player. He's an important part of our organization. We're excited to have him here, and certainly we hope that we can have him here for a while.
Yeah, and then just to follow up, I guess, do you have any concerns with him about like tackling this conversation throughout the season and handling that pressure, whether it's coming from the media or his teammates or anywhere else?
I think Pete has proven he can handle pressure pretty well. He's performed at a very high level in a highly pressurized environment. I'm not concerned about Pete handling pressure.
Thanks.
Next question comes from Ron Blum.
Hey, Dave, thanks for doing this. Looking back, how did you think the last few days of the Yamamoto negotiations went down? Were you confident going into the final day? Looking back, do you think his first choice was always the Dodgers? And what's the disappointment after all the travel and effort put in?
Yeah, look, you go through these negotiations, and these are lengthy negotiations, and there are always kind of those ebbs and flows. And at times you feel like, you've got some optimism, and then at times, maybe you sense that the players' preferences are going elsewhere. And so, I think by the time we got towards the end of that process, we recognized that the preferences were probably in LA. But we certainly had an obligation to put our best foot forward in everything we did. I think we did that as an organization. I think we were very competitive. I think we demonstrate our sincerity throughout the process. And we didn't get the player. And certainly that's disappointing. But that's going to happen at times. And we've got to move on and continue to do our work.
Jerry Beach is next.
Hey, David, this is a piggyback to Steve's question, but the season high for innings amongst your current starters since the pandemic is 179 and change by Sean in 2021. How concerned are you with the depth of your starting pitching and getting 850 plus innings from your starters as currently constructed? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said to Steve. Like you never have enough starting pitching. If you feel like you have enough starting pitching, generally by the time you get to May, you realize you don't. I think you're always on the lookout for starting pitching. You're always on the lookout for innings. I will say I'm excited by the number of upper level pitching prospects we have, and the number of guys who either continue to get their feet wet in the major leagues this year, or guys who can potentially make their major league debut. I think it's unique that you can really fill out, if you wanted to, triple and double A rotations with exclusively homegrown talent. And we would have the ability to do that if we wanted to. So, I always want more starting pitching. We've all been around this long enough to know how fast starting pitching depth can disappear if you get a couple of injuries. I also am excited over the course of the year to see some of our younger pitchers take that next step in their development, get to the major league level, and give them an opportunity to have success here.
Pat Ragazzo is next.
Hey, David. What kind of reports have you received regarding the health of Jeff McNeil and Starling Marte up until this point? And what makes you confident that they're going to be able to bounce back this season to being the impact pieces in the lineup that they were in 2022?
Yeah, look, both those guys seem to be in a good spot. And that in and of itself is probably the greatest reason why I have confidence. I think looking at what Marte went through last year, and I wasn't here, but just hearing about it, it was a battle every day for him. And he's such a competitive guy. He wanted to be out there, but it was a battle. And when you're fighting physical ailments from day one, it can be a struggle. And I think it was for him last year. So to get him in the spot where he is now, where he's eager to play, he's excited to play, he'll be ready for spring training. That's a great step in the right direction. And then with Jeff, it was, some nagging things and really just a strange year for him. And sometimes that happens, and it can steamroll on you a little bit. You can get frustrated. You wake up and it's June and maybe the line doesn't look exactly like you want it to look or what you're accustomed to, and you can press, and before you know it, it's August and it hasn't turned around. And so, look, we do see really good players go through challenging years, and then often they bounce back. And so, those guys are clearly big parts of our team, and we're certainly looking forward to them having bounce back years.
Thank you.
David, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
This concludes today's Met Zoom. Have a good evening, everybody.